Do people actually even give a damn about MSRP anymore? Because over the last maybe 3 or 4 days, I've had so many different emails come in from different online card stores offering discount codes and offering booster boxes for MSRP, if not maybe a few dollars more. But no one seems to really be talking about it or taking advantage of it, because now we're in this dilemma where now that it's pretty much MSRP, nobody wants it. Nobody really cares to buy it. So now it's just sitting there. Now it's pretty compelling because now we've had 3 mainline sets in a row that have been kind of lukewarm in its reception. And all you see is the prices continue to trend down. And so that brings up an interesting dilemma where people continuously always ask for MSRP for a long time now. I mean, even these booster bundles, like for Pitch Black, even these booster bundles from here, even with Chaos Rising, I think they're like $30 to $32 a booster bundle, which is phenomenal. I mean, it's great for people to start ripping. But the people that were saying that they begged for MSRP are now really not buying it or really care about the set all that much because, well, it's not a super popular set. Because investors, collectors, whoever all wanted to be able to get back to MSRP or reasonable pricing again. And when it kind of reaches to a point to where it's close to retail, but not to where it was maybe like 2 or 3 years ago when it was sitting on shelves and you can get things as low as $3 to $4 a pack. Well, now that's what we're waiting for, right? So now we're just waiting for things to get even lower, which is funny because we've been dealing with this for now almost 2 years where things have just been too high, but now things are not low enough. I don't really understand that. But for me, it is nice to see that things have started to cool off with these sets because, I mean, they're not terrible sets. They're not the best sets either. But if you're thinking about it from like an investment standpoint, if you're really serious about collecting long term and doing this kind of thing, you have to understand that if it's pretty much MSRP, if it's $5 to $10 more, or even if it's $200 a box, let's just say $200, you're talking about maybe a $19 difference between getting it from the Pokemon Center and from an online retailer. I mean, why wouldn't you just go ahead and do it, right? And the argument is going to be also is this like, they're terrible sets. I mean, they're not great, right? They're smaller, right? Pitch Black, Perfect Order, and Chaos, they all just come from one Japanese set, so they're not very big. But it shouldn't stop you from buying, one box here and there just to kind of stow away in the meantime. But when you look at older sets from older eras, I mean, we can go as far back as XY, and you look at a set like Steam Siege, the dog shit set of the era. And even with that box, I think it was like $280 to $350 for a booster box at the time. Even at that price point and being maybe like 8 to 10 years old, people didn't want it. It was an ugly set. It was terrible. There was nothing in it. But as a sealed collectible, it was still somewhat desirable. Between that point in time and today, I'm pretty sure Steam Siege is well over $1,000. I think I looked at it last, and I think it's approaching $1,200. So when you think about a dog shit set like that, and you look at Perfect Order, which Perfect Order is not that bad, right? Some of the artworks are still really good. The top chase is a Meowth card. A lot of people like Meowth because once people hook onto a certain Pokemon, I mean, it's all hell's gonna break loose. Because my brother's been collecting Meowths for years, and some of the cards, especially like the mid-air reverses that he's had in his binder, have risen ridiculous amounts. I think the Sky Ridge reverse is like a $300 to $400 card. I think we bought it when it was like $20, but either way. But what I'm saying is, with a set like Perfect Order, it's not the best. It doesn't have the best chases, right? But the main chase is still a very popular Pokemon. We look at Chaos Rising, which I kind of like to put it similar to Twilight Masquerade, because it still has like some Gen 1, Gen 2, I think, Pokemon in it, as well as the Greninja, right? It's a top chase. So it's still relatively popular Mon that people are going to want to probably rip and chase for quite some time. But Pitch Black, the Mega Darkrai is pretty cool. They did what they could to make it look pretty decent. I think the Crown Zenith one's a little bit better, but it's not the Mega form, but still whatever. I think it's still very cool. But if you're looking at it as like a perspective of long term, there's nothing better than right now. And we're no longer at that point to where we're hitting $280 to $300 a booster box pretty much since Destined Rivals. Now, of course, there was a little bit of a dip there during the holiday season, but I feel like not a lot of people took advantage of it because Phantasmal Flames, I think, bottomed out at like $200, but then it shot back up to $5. And if you really didn't buy it at that time, you're pretty much shit out of luck. But my main gripe is that we have all these opportunities now that things are getting cheaper and prices are stabilizing and things are actually looking a little bit more optimistic from this point on. But people aren't taking advantage of it. At least not that I'm seeing. I don't really see people that are really championing any of these 3 sets, which is funny because I think it's still a good buy. And this is coming from someone that I was buying Stellar Crown. Stellar Crown had 2 cards in it that I actually really liked. And the top chase, which is the Terapagos, was maybe $100 card, which is now actually flip-flop, which I think the Squirtle is way more now, and I think so is the Bulbasaur, but I'm not quite sure the prices on it. But that, in my opinion, was a great set for you to buy and hold on to long-term, which for me, it's held out pretty well. For me, I mean, I've had it pretty much since it released, and now they're like $3.50 a box, and I pay like $80, right? Now, unless the prices completely tank, over the next year or so, because they're going to be printed until 2028. So if maybe next year in 27 that they start finally reprinting booster boxes, then maybe you're going to have a chance to buy it at below MSRP. But I highly doubt we're ever going to get to a point to where it's like $100 to $120 a box. Maybe $160, $150, maybe. But at that point, I'm like, well, between $150 and $180 a box, and you buy it now, you don't really have to worry about it again. It's probably a pretty easy play that I would pretty much suggest. But the way I look at it is like, unless the world completely goes to crap, the price that you pay per box is probably going to be okay. Because even the crappiest of sets continue to do well long term. Steam Siege, right? We have Crimson Invasion. Crimson Invasion is a $600 to $700 booster box. You really think that sets like Pitch Black or Chaos Rising won't get to that eventually? Of course they will. Of course they will. I mean, hell, Vivid Voltage is $350. Hell, I think Astral Radiance is what? $500 to $600 or something like that, which that's a pretty mid set of that era. Battle Styles, I think it's probably a little bit more. I think it's like $400, $450. But still, some of these sets that have like one good card and the rest of them are kind of like, whatever. Compared to sets in this block right now that are phenomenally better, are stacked a little bit better as well. Pull rates are a little bit better. I mean, there's a number of things that are going for these sets that I think long term, if you just stop being so nitpicky about it, are probably a good idea to pick them up. And again, we do not know when they're actually going to do big reprints for booster boxes. We just don't know. So a lot of these things are pretty much we're left in the dark. And could it be a scenario to where, those boxes that were in the late Sun and Moon era where they just, of course they got hit by COVID, so that's a little bit different, but to where they were forcibly limiting the amount of booster boxes that they were releasing. And it's just going to be a period of time where, hey, there's actually limited print of booster boxes for most of these sets in the Mega Evolution and late Scarlet and Violet era, to where long-term value in the booster boxes is actually going to remain pretty elevated just because some of the scarcity that went along with just what was going on during this time. Because as well, they're probably not going to focus on booster boxes that much, even going into like the 30th anniversary and the following year, because they're trying their best to catch up. And I think with the 30th anniversary, you're going to want to put as much product of that out there, since it's probably going to be the specialty set of this year and next year too. They're probably going to throw another one in there, but this is going to be the biggest one that they focus on. And so for me specifically, if I'm looking at getting booster boxes, I'm pretty much going to be getting the ones that, one, are cheap, which are pretty close to MSRP, which is like the 3 I've just talked about, as well as late Scarlet and Violet, because these are all going to be rotated out next April. So we're looking at, sets like Stellar Crown, Twilight Masquerade. We're looking at Surging Sparks, Journey Together, I think, and then also Destined Rivals. So those 5 booster boxes. Now, am I going to be buying a booster box of Destined Rivals right now when there's other opportunity? Probably not. But I'm not going to completely shy away from it either, because there is probably some more potential there long term, right? I mean, it's a $550 box right now. Who's to say it's not going to be $1,500 in maybe like 2 years? Especially that one because they pretty much from that point forward didn't really do booster box reprints. They did it for Surging, they did it for Journey Together, not so much Stellar Crown. But definitely Destined Rivals kind of left in the dust there. So I would probably say that's going to be a pretty good spot on boxes secured for long term. But my main point is that the booster boxes that we're looking at that are pretty much MSRP right now, that everybody was crying for, is here. Now's probably a good time to go ahead and get yourself some of it while it's still here, because you never know what's going to happen. We never know how much is actually going to be printed, or if they're actually going to reprint these sets. Even despite them being around for 2 more years, they're probably going to continue focusing on pumping out these really insanely popular specialty sets and kind of leave the mainline sets smaller and maybe not as desirable, whether that's by design or not. I just think that it's probably a good idea is to look at some of these less popular sets, because that's probably where you're going to end up making a decent amount of play on. Because you don't want to try to focus on, because we all know Ascended Heroes is king, right? Prismatic, like 30th, right? All this stuff, like we all know that those are going to do very well long term, right? Especially with Prismatic, that's rotating out pretty soon too. Of course, those are going to be just fine. But as far as booster box goes and collectability of those particular products is going to stay really solid. And I think it's probably a good idea, if you're already into the space, to look for value and potential and return, blah, blah, blah. I would say probably now is a good time to look into those 3 sets, because we just don't know. So I would say get them now while they're cheap. They're $180 to $200 a box. You could probably get lucky and get some cash back offers or some discounts from the online stores to make it even a little bit cheaper. But that's about all I have for that today. I just wanted to rant a little bit about just some investability and market kind of stuff. So let me know what you guys think down below, or what are some other plays that you're making, and I'll see you guys next time.